Hello, Pack 38 families and Cub Scouts. My name is Vipal. I'm the Cub Master of Pack 38, and you are watching my video on the Bobcat rank. It's intended for Bear Den because I'm also the Bear Den leader, but this video can be useful to any of the other dens who have new scouts who are about to earn their first badge, and that's what this is titled. The Bobcat rank is intended to introduce Cub Scouting to a new scout. The first time they've joined our group, maybe they came for the outdoors activities, maybe they came for the science and art activities, or maybe they just came so that they could play with their friends. The idea behind the Bobcat rank is to sort of introduce what are the values, what are the rules, what are the things we think about as we go through our Cub Scouting activities. And so, in that vein, earning the Bobcat rank allows a scout to answer the question at a very basic level: what is Cub Scouting? And so, notice here I've listed 6 requirements in order to earn the Bobcat rank. A scout would demonstrate having memorized the oath and the law. They could recite it with guidance. They would demonstrate what the Cub Scout sign looks like, the handshake, the salute, and they would also recite the Cub Scout motto. And what we typically try to do is work on this with our new Cub Scouts so that by the time we do our first recognition ceremony, we could award them their Bobcat badge, and that would just go right on their uniform. And so why don't we work our way through this? The Cub Scout oath, I'll just read this out outright. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country and to obey the Scout law, to help others at all times, and to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. Pretty straightforward. Again, this is intended for Bear Den, so I'm unpacking this oath in a way that I'm hoping third graders would manage and think about. For our younger scouts, our families might want to take this a different tact at tackling the oath. But here we go. Notice how we've got 4 lines. That first line, on my honor, I will do my best. That is a promise. This is you as a Cub Scout saying, I am making a promise to do something, and what I'm promising to do is my best. We're not asking you to be perfect. We're not asking you to get it right all the time. What we're asking is for you to put all your effort in and to not give up and to do your best at whatever it is you're trying to do. And you're making a promise to do that. So that's the on my honor, I will do my best. To do my duty to God and my country and to obey the Scout law. These are the parameters that sort of guide how you are doing your best, or what is doing your best. Well, what does that mean? Well, doing my duty to God, whatever faith you follow, whatever spirituality you have, that you would have a set of values that will guide your everyday actions, and so doing your best will be guided by doing your duty to God, doing your duty to your country as well. There are the laws of the land, there are the laws in your city, there are the rules in your school. So doing your best as it fits within the laws of the United States and of us here in Minneapolis and of our schools around, and all the different groups that you might be in, and to obey the Scout law. We were going to go over that, but the notion is that your best is governed, is guided by these 12 values of what being a scout is. And so we're going to go over that. Now, the next 2 lines, the first 2 lines we talked about, you've made a promise to do your best, and that doing your best, it will be within the rules that we have set out for you. And then this is the how-to. How do I do my best? We've defined what is your best. Now, how do I do my best? Well, the first thing we state is to help others at all times. Cub Scouting is it's a service activity. So the idea is that we're here to help people as best we can. And that's why it's one of the first how-tos of being a Cub Scout. And then the next how-tos: keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, morally straight. That's fairly straightforward, but we're thinking about you're going to practice healthy eating. You're going to exercise and stay active so that your body stays healthy as well. You're going to learn as best you can at school and do the work and keep your mind active. You're going to not just follow along willy-nilly. You're going to think about the things you're doing. You're going to be intentional with your choices, and you're going to be critical thinkers about the things you're reading and watching. That's the mentally awake part. And then the morally straight part goes back to, again, what are the values that you hold within your family, within your community, within the city, within the state, within the country? What are the values that will help guide the best that it is that you're going to be doing? So again, on my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God, my country, and to obey the Scout law, to help others at all times, and to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. We are expecting Scouts to memorize this as best they can, and then to recite it. And they could have guidance. They can have a parent and caregiver there, sort of giving them cues. But to recite this in order to earn the first requirement in the Bobcat rank. And now here we are, the Cub Scout law that we sort of alluded to. 12 words that define what being a Cub Scout is. We also would like for Cub Scouts to have this memorized, but not just for the sake of memorization, but to understand what these words mean to them. And so this is a good exercise for you and the families to talk about this with your Cub Scout. A Scout is trustworthy. They can be depended on. They don't lie. They won't lie. They say they're going to do something. They say they'll be somewhere, and they're going to do it, or they're going to be somewhere. A Scout is loyal. That is them showing care for their family, for their friends, for their loved ones, for their neighborhood. They will be there for them. A Scout is helpful, and that's pretty straightforward. It is offering assistance with no sense of reward. They're not thinking what's in it for me. They're 100% of the time thinking, how can I be helpful to you? How can I assist you in this need or in this gap that you might have? A Scout is friendly. I think that's fairly straightforward. A Scout is courteous. We're asking Scouts to be polite, to be good-mannered. A Scout is kind. To treat others as you want to be treated is a very basic way of thinking about that. A Scout is obedient. Again, this goes back to what are the rules and the values that govern our actions and activities. And so a Scout following along is a Scout being obedient. A Scout is cheerful. As we know, energy sort of affects everybody around us. And if we have positive energy and we are upbeat, that kind of helps the group stay positive and upbeat. And that gives the group the energy to do their best, to continue doing their best. A Scout is thrifty. One of the ways I talk about it is thrifty means not wasteful. And I know it's defining the word in a negative, but we could also think about it as a Scout is mindful of what they're consuming, of how much they're using up, whether they're spending money to buy things, whether they're taking too large of a portion of food, or they're using too much firewood, or they're at a campsite and they're being wasteful of the water source. Being thrifty really means being mindful of how much we are using up and making sure that there is enough for others and that we're not overusing a resource. Being brave, a lot of Scouts think about being brave against bullies as a first thought, and that's certainly fine, but we also want to say doing something that they're afraid of doing is being brave. When it's their turn to read aloud in the classroom, but they're afraid of reading aloud, maybe they might be laughed at, is one of their fears. Sort of tackling that fear and reading or speaking or giving a speech or standing in front of a crowd and talking to people. That's, if they're fearful of that, be a little brave and just try to get through that, and that will help them to grow. So that's the way we think of being brave. Being clean, I know that also sounds pretty obvious, but one of the other things to think about, other than just keeping yourselves clean, is keeping your space around you clean, keeping your work room, your study room, your playroom, the classroom, the environment, keeping all that clean. So what is kept clean? That's a very broad definition, and we like Cub Scouts to sort of think about that. And then being reverent is being respectful in your spiritual activities or in the faith activities of others, being respectful to other holidays and other things people do to express their relationship spiritually. And it's also when you're outdoors and you're thinking about just the grandeur of nature and sort of just having that a little bit of silence to take it all in. That is also an act of being reverent out in nature. So that's something that they can consider. So again, we would expect scouts to have these words memorized, and I would be able to recite them with guidance, with help is certainly fine. Now, outward expressions of Cub Scouting. There is the Cub Scout sign, which is basically the ears of a wolf or of an animal. It's the peace sign. When they see Cub leaders raise their hands and do the sign, we're calling attention. We're saying, everyone, quiet down and pay attention. We're about to make an announcement, or we need focus to come to us. But also just, showing the signs, just sort of saying, yeah, we're all Cub Scouts. We're all Scouters here. The Cub Scout salute, goes to it's the two fingers going to the temple, going to the brim of their Cub Scout hat if they've got a hat on. It's not really this, and it's not at the sides. It's just touching their forehead just slightly there. The Cub Scout handshake. This is showing the right hand, but you'll note it's going to be that same gesture. Both people. Now, one of the interesting things is that Scouting, actually, we shake with our left hand, salute with our right. And so it'd be interesting if we saw our scouts sort of practice the Cub Scout shake with the left hand so that they could salute with the right hand. And it's just something to think about. There is a tradition. There's a story behind the left-handed handshake. I'm not going to go into it now, but that will be something that we'll talk about throughout the year. And you could certainly ask me about that. I like talking about that story. And so demonstrating these three things are three more requirements toward earning your Bobcat rank. The Cub Scout motto is "Do your best," and I think that is pretty clear. I know in pop culture, it's "Be prepared" is certainly the phrase that comes to mind for scouting in general. But for Cub Scouts, we are thinking about "Do your best." It's not about be perfect, not about get it right all the time. It's about try your hardest, persevere through adversity. When it gets difficult, try to keep going, left foot in front of right foot, and so on and so forth. And just do your best. And your best effort is all we're asking for. Now, if you've gotten this far in the video, I'm going to give you a little story here, and then maybe later on when I see you, I'm going to ask you about the story. And if you got this far, you're going to know the answer. And if you didn't get this far, then you won't. But many of you might not know this. I'm Canadian. I'm Canadian. Before coming down here to the U.S., I was a wolf cub up in Canada, 8, 9, 10 years old. We have beaver cubs and then wolf cubs. And I was a wolf cub. And our motto went this way. It's something we chanted. You ready? Here we go. Akela, we'll do our best. Dib, 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 we'll dob, dob, dob. All right. And that was the way we said our motto. Akela is a character in the Jungle Book. Cub Scouting from its very earliest days had connected to the Jungle Book and used its characters to describe the different leader roles. And in Canada, we use Akela for to symbolize any of the Cub Scout leaders. Usually it was a Cub Master, but it could be a den leader. It could be a parent or caregiver that has a leadership role. Down here in the U.S., Baloo, B-A-L-O-O. Baloo is actually used to symbolize Cub Scout leadership, and that's another character from the Jungle Book. Either way, in Canada, our do your best motto was Akela, meaning Cub Master. We'll do our best. You'll dib, 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 D-Y-B, D-Y-B, which stood for do your best. We'll dob, 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 D-O-B, 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 which stood for do our best. That's the story. Remember Akela, A-K-E-L-A. Look up the Jungle Book if you're interested. But if you got this far in the video, you just got the bonus story. And there is a seventh step that we're not going to go over in this video, but parents and caregivers, connect with your den leader, connect with me, and we'll talk you through some resources that BSA Scouts would like for you to review with your family, with your Cub Scout, as it relates to youth protection. And so we'll follow up. And if your Scout recites the first 6 requirements, and then you as a family, you do this 7th requirement, this reviewing and reading together of some material as it relates to youth protection, your Scout will have earned the Bobcat rank, and we will award your Scout that patch at our first recognition ceremony here in the fall. Okay, that's all I've got for you. This is probably longer than it needed to be, but if you've got any questions, shoot me an email, cubmaster38@gmail.com, and connect with your den leader, connect with me at the next dinner pack meeting, and we're more than happy to help your scout along toward earning this rank. Okay, take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye.